We're back again. Titan Muscle and Mind podcast with Zah from Luxland Investment. Zah, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm sorry about changing the time on you.
No, that's all right. It's an honour to be here.
Well, mate, we've got so many mutual friends, and I thought I've got to get him on. And it was funny, I was talking to Garth last week, and he said, man, I was just with Zah and you messaged him. I think I messaged you around the same time.
Yeah, you did.
And I've had Garth on, and I thought, man, I didn't even know he was with you, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it was the same day.
And I've been following a lot of the work you've been doing on Luxland Investments. You seem to be going from strength to strength. Your page looks good. I just seen one of your houses on there today. It was 430,000, is that right?
420.
420,
in Newcastle,
geez.
yeah.
I was about to pay 430.
Yeah.
So, mate, tell me a little bit about Luxland and how you started.
Yep.
And how long you've been doing it for.
All right, so Luxland started about 3 or 4 years ago, I think 2013, as a small boutique development company that specialised in small apartment blocks, townhouses, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd always been involved in property since 2008. I bought my first property. I was 25 then, and I slowly built my portfolio from there, and that's what helped me get into business in the first place. So what happened around 2015, we decided to expand the business and go into the buyer's agency side of things.
Okay, buyer's agency, is that?
So that's where we source property for clients in Sydney.
Yeah.
We specialise in the Central Coast and Newcastle market.
Yeah.
Mainly being the reason of the Sydney property market being so overheated and unattainable for the everyday investor.
100%. I totally agree with that.
And because I'm from the Central Coast and Newcastle region, and my portfolio sits all along there, and I've done really, really well from those pockets. I consider myself an expert. I think I'm really, really good at what I do. Well, I know I'm really good at what I do, and people just come to me for advice, and they want that expert opinion on, those markets. So that's where we are today. We're strong on our online presence. We've got a good client base as it is. We're still looking for new clients. We're still welcoming new clients. But it's one of those things where we don't want to grow so big that it doesn't become personal anymore. It's more so, we've got our own little projects that we're doing as well, and we're happy with where we're at.
With the buyer's agent, what's the difference between the buyer's agent and the actual agent? Like, what do we get more from the buyer's agent?
So I represent the buyer, whereas the real estate agent represents the seller.
Wow, okay.
So a lot of people listening today will probably have experience of dealing with a real estate agent.
And no one likes that.
And no one likes it.
No.
Right? Well, not many people like it
Well, I
anyway.
shouldn't say that. There's a fair few at the gym.
Well,
so
because if you're a buyer, then it's difficult because the real estate agent is working for the opposition, who is the seller. So we come in and represent the buyer. We're dealing with agents every day, day in, day out. So for us, it's second nature. We know what they want. We know they just want to get a deal across the line. We remove all emotion, and we just get a deal done, right, as smoothly as possible. So it makes it, we're solving a problem for the buyer, and a lot of buyers, they don't want to go through that. They just want to outsource that to someone else like us.
So take me through the process. I come to you, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, and I want to buy a property. How far do you take me through the process? Do you take me through finding the property, through getting a loan, through conveyancing? Like, how far does it go?
We cover from end to end. So we, from sourcing the property to negotiating the property to help buying the property, to going back to getting the finance, taking you through the legals, inspecting the property with the pest and building inspectors, conducting renovations if we have to, sorting out property management. And then it's almost like a lifelong membership with us because it is such a personal process. So it's right up until settlement and thereafter. So it's really good value for money. And we teach you the process as well. And that's the hard thing, because where do you go for that education? You know what I mean? Where for us, like, we'll be transparent with what we charge, and we'll be transparent in what each of those charges are for.
Yes, yeah.
But you're learning the whole process. There's no hidden agendas where we're selling you different products. It's just it's a service.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere else that you can go and do that.
Yeah.
You know, like if someone wanted to go buy a property, most people go to a real estate agent, but they don't have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like going to.
So you're building relationships, really.
That's
and
right.
A relationship, because once you buy it from the agent, you never see him, you never talk to him, you never get any more.
That's it.
You know,
we're
tips.
ongoing.
Yeah, it's
we're
ongoing.
ongoing. So you know, like my business model in all of my businesses have been about long-term relationships because the long game is what's going to pay in the end.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I've needed the experience in my previous businesses, all the hit and misses, to implement all of those strategies into Luxland to make it succeed.
Yeah. So tell me, where did you start to be this entrepreneur, to be this business owner? You must have started somewhere to get the experience that you needed to get to this point in your life.
So I started out in nightclubs. So I started working in nightclubs when I was 17. So, you know, really early.
Yeah.
I was in the Cross when it was very, very busy and we're making a lot of money, which was great. You know, I had a lot of mentors who were involved in property as well as nightclubs.
Yeah.
And at 25 years old, I bought my first property.
Yeah.
I always knew that I had to buy a property, and that was on the Central Coast.
Yeah.
That was for $340,000. That property now is worth about $1 million, and I still have it in my portfolio.
And that's
on the Central Coast.
Central Coast.
Yeah, so I've done really well out of that. But year on year, I've done really well out of it, which enabled me to buy more property and invest in other businesses. So after I was done working in nightclubs, I went out and opened up my first business, which was a nightclub in Newcastle.
On Newcastle.
Now, this business, I think I was around 26 years old, was my very first business that cost me pretty much my life savings, and it failed. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
It was the best thing because at the time it didn't feel like the best thing, I tell you that much. You know what I mean? Like, because hundreds of thousands of dollars to a 26-year-old who, you know, saved that from scratch is a lot of money. But what helped me was having those properties behind me.
Yeah.
They were like a pillow to fall back on.
Yeah.
So from there, I had to pick myself up. I almost fell into depression for about 6 months, and you know, it was a pretty hard time of my life. And then I entered into the health and fitness industry and opened up an anti-aging clinic. Yeah. Which was a great business, made me some really good money. But then, you know, the TGA came in and changed all the regulations on that business, which made me have to I had to pretty much close it down. Yeah. And then we opened up our supplement store, Mass Nutrition. Yeah. Which was very successful, and then I sold it after 3 years, and now I'm in property. Along the way, I picked up a couple of other businesses which failed, and you know, which I won't go into because it's there's too many to name. Of course, 100%. One of the businesses that I did pick up along the way was a salon. It's called Salon 266, which I still have till this day, which provides me great cash flow, and it's a hair salon. Wow. Yeah, and it's females, yeah. It's a great little business. I've had it for 5.5 years now. So I've always loved business.
Is that in Bondi too? Or?
Darlinghurst, yeah. Near City Gym there, just off Oxford Street.
5 years?
5.5 years we've been there for, So that was a hard business to begin with. A lot of people tried to, you know, do us over in that industry as well. And, you know, we've come out the other end, you know, as winners. And, you know, it's a very satisfying business between me and my wife which we run. We've got a great team down there, and look, we love it. You know, we love business in general. So it's in my blood. You know, and it's something that it's really hard because you go through business and you think it's so hard. Like it's been almost 10 years for me, and it's so hard. You want to blow your brains out. You just want to end it. You just want to go get a job. You know what I mean? And there are even times today where I go, like till this day, where I go, oh, you know, it'd be so much easier if I just got a job. You know what I mean?
100%.
Because you just all the responsibility. Everyone's riding on you. You've got, you know, loans. You've got people screaming for wages, and it's stressful. You know, it's not for everyone. But if you can get through it, you know, like it's one of the most rewarding feelings in the world. You know, like, and it's an emotional roller coaster. I'm sure you know what it's about, Matt.
100%, mate. Look, I totally agree with that. Definitely, it is, being an entrepreneur or business owner is a lonely road, but what you learn through that process is you create better habits and pathways, and you learn how to cope. You have better coping mechanisms. What are the habits that you've got along the way that's helped you cope and become better?
Dealing with the adversities have been one of the toughest things I've had to do. It's one of those things where you can't get a textbook and open it up and read and then go, right, I've learned entrepreneurship.
100%.
No way, you can't do that.
Totally
and you know what,
agree.
till this day I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But I feel like I become a master every day of opening myself up to learning. And the way that one of the key habits that I have is that be a forever student.
Yes.
So I never used to be like that.
I totally agree with that.
I used to be very arrogant, thinking that I knew everything, right?
Same.
You know, like
I can resonate with that.
and it's just, I'll admit it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so embarrassed actually admitting it, you know, to admit it. But it's one of those things where I truly felt like I knew everything, you know, but I don't.
Yeah.
And till this day, like I've considered myself quite successful,
Yeah.
but I still treat myself as a student, and I'm always learning. And I try and hang out with people who are better than me all the time.
Yeah.
I always try and be the dumbest person in the room, because those people are always going to lift me up.
100%.
I found that there was a bit of a barrier where I had to break through, where I had to get rid of all those negative people. Get rid of the people who are just anchoring me down, you know what I mean? And just get rid of those people and just go forward with positive, surround yourself with positive people, like-minded, and people who are better than you, that know more stuff. Yeah. And they're going to eventually lift you up.
Yeah. I always say, like, there's always a polar opposite. You know, there's hot and cold. You know, there's one, you can't have one without the other. You know, there's up and down, you can't have one without the other. And then obviously there's negative and positive. So you one can't survive without the other, but what you can do is you can learn from the negative and eliminate the surroundings that you have of the negativity and move forward from that. Have you found that the negativity around you was holding you back?
It was, but it was a necessary part of the process. Yeah. It's a necessary, and at the time, you like I said earlier, you want to blow your brains out. It's the worst thing in the world. The whole world's caving in. But the long term, what happens is that you look back on those negatives and go, if that didn't happen in my life, if that door didn't close, that other door wouldn't have opened. Yeah. So times of crisis is so important. And if you can have that long-term view to know that, hang on, there's a meaning behind this. And it's not about getting all spiritual or anything like that, but it's the truth. Like 100%. All the listeners that are listening today would be going, okay, thinking back to an adversity that they went through, but what came out of it on the other end, whether it be 2 years down the track, 3 years down the track, or well, it could even be like 6 months down the track, whatever it is. I've noticed that all the adversities that I've gone through, all the negative stuff that I've gone through, there's been a positive that's come out of it, right? And it's about playing the long game. Yeah. Not thinking about today, not thinking about the short term, thinking about, okay, what is this doing to me for 10 years down the track, 20 years down the track? And the problem is, and we were discussing this earlier, you know, offline, but millennials don't think like that. No. They think today, instant gratification. Yeah. You know, like, forget about that. Yeah. And it's even more so apparent today because social media, you can see, you know, like everyone's doing well. And, you know, if we want a question answered, we just Google it. Google, 100%. But back 20 years ago, what was Google?
There was no such thing.
Right? If we're sitting at a table and we're trying to discuss, okay, what's the most famous city in the world, right? Yeah. You can't, there was no Google. No. We discuss it. Yeah. All right? We talk it out. There might be an argument. I don't know, right? But it's different now. It's like, hey, hang on, I'll just reach for my phone. Yeah. Right? So everything's instant. Yeah. So what's happening is it's conditioning these millennials' brains to go, I want everything now. Right? So they have this short-term mindset, and you need to always ingrain that long-term view. Definitely. So all of those sort of adversities, don't think of the short-term consequences out of it. Think what's going to happen long-term. Yeah. Turn that negative into a positive, and it's about the way you think. Yeah, it's who you surround yourself with. It's understanding, and what I found the common denominator with a lot of millennials is, and when you talk about instant gratification, they're not good with confrontation. They're not good communicators. It's because they don't put the time in
to learn those areas, because it's a long game. Like you said, it's a long game to go in and to self-develop yourself, to learn those areas, so you can have these proper talks and communicate with people, and work out what needs to be done and what is necessary to be done.
Well, it's like a professional boxer, right? You chuck him in the ring every single day, and you get him in sparring on the pads and doing all the workouts, and then you actually chuck him in the ring on fight night, and he can have a good go, right? Because he's conditioned for those adversities and those stress levels. But if you chuck in someone who's never been in the ring before on fight night, they're going to get smashed,
So
right?
they've been there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same with what we're talking about with the millennials trying to deal with confrontation and all of that sort of thing, because they're not in it. They're not communicating one-on-one with people, and they're not, putting themselves in a situation of adversity. They don't train themselves to be strong in those situations. So for me, I embrace adversity. I love it. I love anxiety. I love stress, because what comes out of it is a tougher mind, right? And this is the thing that I try and embed into a lot of millennials, is that go for it, right? Like if it scares you, do it.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
If you have a fear of it, or if you have a bad feeling about it, usually you've got to go and do it. Because that's going to teach you to do it better next time.
One thing I tell the millennials, I know Jules is over there, so I'm not going to really bag him, but he's an amazing kid. But I always say, fears are your friends, leaders are readers, all the time. And what that does is, if fear's your friend, learn everything about fears, learn everything about procrastination, because I think we're all procrastinators.
We're all guilty of
of that, because I could have been doing this podcast 3 years ago. So why now? So we all have a level of it, and of what I've learned now is write everything down and start taking action. And the more accountable you are to writing things down, the more transparent you are with the truth of what's holding you back.
Self-awareness
it's a massive thing. And when you write it down, now you're scared, because you got to do it. What are the strategies that you guys do at Luxland behind the scenes to make sure that everything is as close to being right as possible?
I think writing our goals down and holding each other accountable. So going back to self-awareness, that's really important, because you need to know your flaws, you need to know your weaknesses, and you need to know your strengths. And you need to play to your strengths. And everyone on my team, in all of my businesses, they play a specific role, because they're strong in one point. So we all have to keep each other accountable, and it's about writing down your goals consistently and having that clear vision. And the problem is that so many people don't have that vision. And when you don't have that vision, you don't have clarity. And when you don't have clarity, you lack power.
That's what we're talking about today, clarity.
That's right. The more clarity you have,
and you're talking about power, right?
That's right.
So power is energy. So if you don't have clarity, you don't have the energy to go forward as well.
And things fall over. Like, you might be able to get through your day-to-day, routine and all of that sort of thing, but where are you going?
100%. He's talking exactly what I was talking about today. Well, he must have been watching me somewhere.
At a listening
I think
device
great minds
to it.
think alike. It's so important, what you're saying, and obviously.
But most people don't do it. Sorry to interrupt you, Mitch, but most people don't have that vision.
They're scared. They're scared
And
to put it down, and they're fearful that if they put it down, they're not going to achieve it.
That's right. I was talking to a colleague of mine, and I said, "Okay, what are your goals?" Right? And he goes, "Oh, he ummed and ahed for a while." And I said, "Why are you umming and ahhing?" He goes, "Oh, I don't want to write something too big, right? And if I don't hit it, I'm going to look like a flop." I go, so the thought of looking like a flop far outweighs you actually having a go and executing. And he's froze, and he goes, "Oh, well," I said, "Don't worry about what other people think. Put the fucking goal down, because if you don't put it down, you're not even going to sell yourself short and like get halfway." So it's one of those things where most people don't even know their goals, so they don't have a vision. So Arnold Schwarzenegger says it, he says it in this motivational video. He says, it's like a pilot taking off without a destination. Right? Imagine a plane taking off without a destination to go to. The passengers are going to go, where the fuck are we going? Right? It needs a destination, just like your life. Your life needs a destination. You need to know where you're going, so that clarity is power.
And what do pilots have? A checklist before and after, even though they've flown the plane over 1,000 times, and they keep that checklist all the time. And us,
it's like having a plan,
100%. Yeah, because at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, you got to observe: did you get through your checklist? Did you do everything you can possibly do? And it's being the observer of your life, and that's where self-awareness comes in. To marking yourself, did you do absolutely everything you could do today?
And you've got to put yourself under pressure to get those things done. So you can't go, oh, I just missed out on a couple of things. It's okay, I'll do it tomorrow. No, hate yourself for it and get it done, right? Because if the pilot, for example, right, if the pilot missed, say, 3 things on a checklist and just took off, is that acceptable? Would you say that's acceptable?
No way.
That's not acceptable, right?
No.
So why would you accept it in your life if you missed a few things just because you wanted to scroll on your newsfeed through social media instead of doing the actual work, or you wanted to watch TV for half an hour instead of doing your work, or whatever it is, the distractions, right? And most people get distracted easily, and unfortunately that's why they don't hit their goals.
And when you have clarity, how much faster and more efficient do you work?
100 times faster, 1,000 times faster, because you don't know where you're going. I see so many people sleepwalking their way through life, and you just think, I don't know, like I just couldn't do it like that. My team, they're not allowed to be like that. If they're just clocking in and clocking out to work, like I don't want those types of people. I want people that want to grow. And I want people to grow beyond what I can provide them as employment. So if I've got a staff member who wants to go and open their own company and everything, great. Maybe we can partner one day. Like I want to lift everybody up. And if they don't want that for themselves, then unfortunately they don't have a spot in my companies.
So growth equals happiness.
Yep.
And it's
progress.
Progress equals happiness. There you go. You see, you corrected me. I was on the graph. What does graph equal? Graph equals
muscles. You're thinking of muscles. You're happy with big muscles.
Progress equals happiness. So if you're progressing, you're growing. A lot of people obviously find that hard to believe. Obviously, they have a fear of, if they're going to progress all the time, what's the end point of that? Do you think that's part of people not making?
I think they can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
They can't comprehend what guys like us are trying to tell them. And it's not going back to the millennials. I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Like, I love millennials. I'm one of them.
I'm going to tell you, like, I actually enjoy the challenge now of working with them, because I know if I can overcome those obstacles, and if I can overcome the barriers to connect with them, then I've found a principle that works. Yeah, that's what I'm enjoying the most right now, because I've got heaps of them.
Look, if anything, the millennials right now have the biggest opportunity to succeed, because they have access to so much information.
And they're more skilled than us, really, aren't they? They're a lot faster, really, aren't they?
Very fast. Look how fast we've moved in even the last 2-3 years in terms of like social media marketing, right? So I remember, if you think, say, 2014, 2015, what your Instagram photos used to look like all those bad filters and everything, it's embarrassing. It was only 2-3 years ago. So think about how fast we've moved, right? So it's the millennials now, the generation now, has the most opportunity to succeed. But also, on the flip side of the coin, they have the biggest opportunity to fail
as well,
right? So it's very important for them to push.
Because they don't have the resilience, really, do they? They're not used to the resilience and the persistence to continue.
And we live in a very immature country, like as in Australia. We're very underdeveloped. So there is no real wealth gap here yet. But there will be a wealth gap. Because what will happen? All the people who don't jump on board and better themselves now will be left behind. The people who step up to the plate today and start taking action and start trying to work towards their goals, those are the people that will be the cream of the crop. And it's very important for us. It's our obligation, our duty to push these people to the top.
100%. Now I want to go back to Luxland. You've been doing it for now the last 4 years. Is it 4 years? 2013, 4 years. How big have you grown it?
Look, we're doing projects now which are in the, we're building, say, for example, we've got 2 projects happening next year, which are 2 blocks of 40 units. I've got JV partners in that, joint venture partners in that. We're looking to raise, 13 million per project. So we're talking big numbers now. that'll give us a revenue of around the $20 million mark, which is, you know, it's big,
good.
right?
Yeah,
but at the end of, and also on the other side of things, it's very high risk. So
on the flip side, you've got to risk something. Obviously, I have a good game.
Yeah. So you know, I'm putting up a lot of my collateral, a lot of you know my properties go up against all of that and all of that sort of stuff. But look, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I continue to educate myself, so I feel more and more confident as the days go on. I truly believe that the more you're educated, the more calculated your decision can be in business. Yeah. And also just surrounding myself with the right people who have done it before. Yeah. Trying to avoid all of those smaller mistakes and all of that sort of thing. Yeah. But look, we're on the way. Like I'm only 33, and you know, property for me has always been a long-term thing. Yeah. So this is my 30-40 year plan. Yeah. This is, you know, people always think, okay, what am I want to achieve this in 12 months. So I want to achieve this in 2 years. Like, mate, I'm looking 20 years. 20 years ahead. You know, I'm looking 30 years. I'm looking legacy. Right. So it's not so much a monetary value. It's more so because I've hit that already. I really want to make my mark and help others get there as well. So how big do we want to get? I think, you know, the sky's the limit. Yeah. There is no limit to that. I think it's more so how big can I get everyone else to get? Yeah, of course. Because that makes the difference, doesn't it, for your business? If you can bring people along the journey, that makes your business a lot bigger as well. Well, they're going to invest in the business. Yeah. You know, the whole idea behind the buyer's agency is to build relationships with clients through smaller property deals, and then get them across after a couple of years and go, look, would you invest in one of our larger development projects? And that's where we want to head. That's the bigger picture. So for us, there's always a bigger picture beyond what we're doing in the day-to-day operations. You know what I mean? If there's young investors out there watching this, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people, because I'm interested. What do you think they need to get into the property market? And can I ask you, like Newcastle and Central Coast, obviously you've lived there and you've chose that for a reason. Is it because it's a really good price point for people that are young, like the millennials, to get in? It is. It's an affordable price point. So at the moment, the Sydney median house price sits at 1.2 million. It's ridiculous. Like, let's say you've got a $200,000 deposit on that 1.2, and you've got to take out a mortgage for $1 million. Number one, as an investment property, it's highly likely your rent's not going to cover your mortgage repayments and any of your expenses. So, it's going to cover a fraction of it. Now, what I like about Central Coast and Newcastle is that you can buy well-located properties and have the rents cover all of your expenses for around the $600,000 mark. Wow. Or even $500,000, you can still get good properties, you know, and they are in blue chip areas. So think of the Bondi of the Central Coast, or the Bondi of Newcastle, right? So we're only, in terms of Central Coast and Newcastle, an hour or two away from Sydney. So it's still in the proximity of Sydney. So you're still going to get the capital growth aspects of Sydney, because Sydney's always going to be strong. It's an international city. It's becoming like New York. Everyone wants to do business here. The Chinese are investing. Everyone. That's just the way Sydney's happening, right? Sydney's not going to go backwards at all. So if you're getting the growth from Sydney, but you can take advantage of the ripple effect going up north or even down south to Wollongong, I think you'll do really well. I've done really well out of it, and it's how I've funded all of my businesses. It's how I fund my current lifestyle and all of my projects. Man, I'm definitely interested, because I didn't know all that. I mean, I've been watching you, but when I talk to you, most people don't know because they're not educated on the markets, and why would you? But I agree. Like it makes perfect sense. Because the market here is just going through the roof, and to be perfectly honest, like Newcastle and Central Coast are nice areas. Look, I would never live in any of the properties that I build or I'm the same. Like, this is where I want to be. But if you want to invest, and you want to make money, the reason why I pick properties around the $500,000 mark is because it's a bread and butter property. Everybody, like in terms of the mass population, needs to live in these properties. So the rents aren't ever going to go down because they can't go down any more than they are. It's low as it is. To pay $500 a week for a fully renovated 3-bedroom house on a decent sized block. I mean, where are you going to get that in Sydney? Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? So that will never decrease. That's only an hour away. So whatever the market conditions are, you're going to be quite stable in that sort of price range. But the reason why a lot of people don't get involved in that price range, because it's not glamorous.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the $1.5, $2 million house on the water or whatever, right? But they don't want to go out and educate themselves on, you know, the old existing properties that are in, you know, the boring old suburbs where they have to go and view them every weekend to do the open inspections, and it's just not sexy, right? But that's what I love about it, because that's where the opportunity is. That's where you can make money. And it's so easy to make money in this market. But you just need to know where to look.
Final two questions. We've got a lot in common, and like sitting down with you today, there's a lot of things that we think about.
Yeah, we should do this more often.
We should, 100%. Well, especially you're the property guy. You're our property guy now. It's time to muscle our mind. You keep fit. How important is that to be efficient and have the right energy? Like, how important is it to keep fit? Because a lot of people that do real estate, they're not the fittest people.
Look, it's imperative. It's imperative in any business. I do about 10 Ks every morning. That is my minimum.
Run?
Yeah, I do a mixture of running, walking, on the bike, rowing, or a cross trainer. So that is my minimum workout, 7 days a week, 6 a.m. Every single day, even on the weekends.
So that's a ritual that's locked in.
That's a ritual that's locked in. Now, I do a lot of my personal development when I'm doing that cardio.
How many hours do you spend on personal development?
Look, personal development for myself, 1 hour a day. Industry specific, it can be hours, because I'm always trying to perfect my craft.
And that's in the real estate market, obviously.
That's in property. That's or business, because, you know, business in general is my passion, and it's what I like to pursue.
How many hours would you spend on that, say, a month? Like, if you were to...
Look, there are times where I've spent 4 or 5 hours a day on it. Because it's part of my job. It's part of my role to have the knowledge base, to pass down onto my clients, to pass on to my business partners and to my staff, and that's my role. So, I mean, I'm more bigger picture. I try not to get caught up in the day-to-day operations of too many things, because I need to keep feeding myself with the right information.
Innovation, all that kind of stuff.
All of that stuff, keeping up with trends. I mean, things are changing every day. Also learning from, I like to call them silent mentors, where I have never met these people before, but I'm reading their biographies and, you know, finding out about how other interesting people have, you know, gotten so successful in their life, because why reinvent the wheel?
100%.
You know what I mean? 100%. So why not learn from
clues?
That's right. Learn from others who have done it before. So I try and, you know, keep well versed on, you know, a lot of other successful entrepreneurs, not just in the property game, but, you know, in the fitness industry, you know, in the hair and beauty industry, all different types of industries, because you can always bring those principles over. Yeah,
totally agree. And finally, if there's 3 takeaways for young people out there, and 3 habits that they need that are the most important to move forward, to be successful, or to have a fulfilled life, what would they be?
Look, one of the most important ones is, we covered it already, is your health. I think I go by the saying, sounds a bit cheesy, health is wealth. Right?
Yeah, well, it is.
But it's, you know, like, health and fitness is, if you're not performing at an optimal rate physically, then I just truly believe that you're not tapping into your potential mentally, right? So, you know, having that ritual, you don't have to be extreme like I am. I mean, I started out doing cardio in the morning, like 15 minutes. Like, this was about 7-8 years ago. And that was such a hard job for me. Like, I didn't want to do it.
So it wasn't natural for you?
Nah, I hated it. You know what I mean? But
that's refreshing to know. You know, because you worked on becoming good at that.
It compounded. Right? So those incremental habits every single day compounded into me doing, I clock a minimum of 70 Ks a week now. And you know what? If I don't do it, I don't perform. So I have to do it every single day. I've done it every single day for the past probably 12 months. Right? And I haven't missed a day. And even if I'm overseas, my wife has to book a hotel with a really good gym. So I've got all of those facilities to use first thing in the morning. So health is wealth. Right? The second thing would be take action. You know, so many people they have these great ideas, right? And they just don't execute on them, right? And they might be shit ideas, but just do it anyway. Just try it, fail it, because you need to fail in life. Because one of the most, you know, funny things that I find about people who have never failed, they're like the most messed up people. You know what I mean? Because they always think they're right.
Yeah,
They
of
think
course.
they know everything, and everything they touch turns to gold,
Yeah.
and it's like it's so frustrating.
Yeah,
it's like actually you need to fail,
Yeah.
because if you don't fail, you're not going to value success.
Yeah.
It's like when you haven't eaten for so long, right, and you've been without food,
Yeah.
right, and then all of a sudden you eat your favorite food.
Yeah.
It's like, how good does that food taste?
Yeah.
It's the same with success.
Yeah.
So if you had adversity over adversity over adversity, and then all of a sudden you hit success,
Yeah.
man, how good does it
Feels
feel?
good, 100%.
You value it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
So, taking action is necessary, and failing is necessary,
Yeah.
right? So, failing is one of those things where people look at it as, I think in the older generation it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
now,
it is like you can't speak about it.
mate, when I grew up, failing was so bad.
I know, it was,
Right?
100%.
My parents would scold me to the cows come home.
Well, they played it safe, didn't they? The old generation
Very conservative.
played it safe.
Very, very conservative.
Yeah.
But there was never like, okay, so what have you learnt from this, Zar? It was just like, okay, you've done this wrong, you fucked up.
Stop, go get a proper job.
You're
get a
grounded,
proper job,
or whatever it is, like
Yeah,
it was. That's the way my parents brought me up.
Yeah.
But now I think, well, no, you learn from failure, and that's what being an entrepreneur teaches you, because you've got to fail, you've got to make mistakes, and you've got to take those as lessons.
Yeah.
And moving into whatever you're doing, like it doesn't have to be business; it can be in your life as well. So health is wealth. Take action. And fail. Actually fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like actually go out and fail.
Yeah. Well, mate, you have micro failures every day, really, don't you?
All the time. Like I've still failed to this day.
100%,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think I'm going to add another fourth one in there just for good measure, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the listeners can resonate with this, but it's, don't worry about what other people think.
100%.
I think, and I used to be one of those people where I used to care so much about what other people thought of me, and I wouldn't have dreamt of doing like a podcast like this.
No.
Right? And now I'm like, you know what? I want to do more and more and more of them. And I actually don't really care what people think.
You only got to care
about
about 2 to 3 people. Your wife, and a couple of people around you that you really.
And most of the time, those people are going to support you
100%
with anything that you're trying to do, right? And once you push past that barrier of worrying about or not worrying about what other people think of you, you know what? The sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm 33. I've got multiple businesses, and I don't give a fuck what people say about it.
No, it's good.
Right? And people pointed and laughed at me.
Yeah.
And they still do now. People are probably watching this.
I've
now.
never heard anyone. But Zar, my wife said, "Who's Zar?" first, but now I could see her smile. She really knows who you are. And Jules knew who you were, and he goes, "How did you get Zar?" So it's
famous.
It's good.
I'm famous.
You go, so like, to be perfectly honest, for me, like, it's been great having you, and you've been my favourite podcast.
Oh,
I'm telling you, because we
what a
talk
call!
the same.
What a call!
I might. You know what? You're the standard right now. You're the guy to beat. So if there's anyone out there that wants to come on after Zar, he's just set the bar high.
Fantastic.
Mate, you really resonated with me. A lot of things that you talked about. We've been through the same adversities and the same failures. And it means a lot to me to have you here, because I believe a lot of people that listen to this podcast will learn a lot about you and what you've achieved.
Fantastic. It was a pleasure being here.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
thanks a lot, man. And thanks for the shivers, is it Blue Label shivers? It was.
Well, I've been listening to your podcast and I'm hearing you slurring your words, and I'm thinking, what's going on here?
I'm going to have some of that tonight, because I'm just going to celebrate my favourite podcast.
Yeah, we'll share one. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks,
a lot.
Matt.
Appreciate it.